let's go ahead and get started. As usual, we're going to start with our jumping jacks.
Here we go. Running in place. Next. Make sure you're rolling down through your feet. Jumping jacks. Make sure you're tightening the breath. One more set. Running. You go last turn. Running. Do one more time and finish it up.
And then we're going to go ahead into our dirty pop abs, so you can do whatever you need to get ready for that. And just in case anyone here hasn't done them with me before, I'll just review them really quick. So we start with just our crunches, 8 to the center. And then we do the crossover crunches, which is when we take our elbow, touch our knee, bring it back down. So then we do 8 of those. We'll do that 4 times. So 4 sets of 8 center crunches and then 8 alternating crossovers. And then we move on to the jackknives. So the jackknife starts flat on the floor, arms up above your head, feet nice and straight. Then we're going to kind of sit all the way up to a V I think it's 4 counts. We come up 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to hold it for a count or 2. Lower 5, 6, 7, 8, nice and controlled. We'll do 8 of those. And then we'll give you a quick rest. And then we'll finish out that part with 8 more jackknives with a straddle. So then that one comes up the same way. Then you open for 2 counts, close for 2 counts, and lower. So then we'll do 8 of those. And then we'll flip over and do a plank for about a minute at the end. Are we all ready? Can I get thumbs up if you're good to go? All right, let's do it.
Dirty pop. Yo. Sick and tired of hearing all these people talk about what's the deal with this hot life and when is it gonna fade out? Then you got to realize what we're doing is not a trend. We got the good stuff.
Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Around my neck. Would you recognize each other about respect? Clothes I wear and where I'm going, why? But you get hyped and do it to you every time. Dirty pop, baby, you can't stop. Dirty pop.
Cross.
Why you wanna try to classify the types of things that we do? We're just trying to do what we like. We say the same.
One more time.
Tired feeling all around me, animosity. Just worry about drugs, cause I'm on your mind. Now people, can't you see? But the car I drive with the ice around my neck. Don't you recognize it's just about respect?
Quick rest.
Clothes I wear and where I go in my.
Here we go. Jackknife. 6, 7, 8. Four.
Man, I'm tired of singing.
3, 2. Quick rest. Here we go. Ready? Straddle. 5, 6, 7, 8. Open. Close. Open. Close. Three. 2. 1. Good. Roll over. Getting ready for a plank. Couple more seconds. Take a breath. Here we go. Get ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. 45 seconds. Rest.
Okay, so I figured today, since we're kind of doing a combined conditioning and stretch, I will spare you the burpees and mountain climbers. Yeah, I thought I'd get some positive feedback for that. So we'll skip the burpees and mountain climbers for today. But what we will do is our squats. So we'll do 64 body weight squats. Then we'll do the cha-cha slide again. That was a good one. We did the cha-cha slide in a plank. And then we'll finish it with our twisty crunches, and that'll be it for the conditioning portion, and then we'll stretch for the rest of the time. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our squats. So we're gonna do our 64 body weight squats. And just to demonstrate some proper form here for a second, a couple really important things you want to focus on, very similar to what you would focus on with technique in a dance class for like a grand plie. Thing number one, you want to make sure that your knees track over your middle toes, right? So what we want to avoid is like maybe too much turn out of the feet, but then the knees go forward. That's bad for you. It's also bad for you if your knees buckle outward at the bottom. So we want to kind of just make sure, and it's kind of entirely up to you what you do with your stance. You can do turned out squats that are more like a grand plie. It's a little bit easier on your back if you have lower back issues. It's also a little bit harder on your hips, so it's kind of a trade-off. If you want to avoid the hips, but you feel good about your back and your abs being nice and strong, I like to keep mine actually pretty close to neutral and almost completely parallel. Yeah, because that really helps me get into my lower quads. It's kind of up to you. You can play with your form a little bit, but the two major things are this. Make sure your knees go over your toes, right? So we don't want to let them buckle one way or the other. And then thing number two is your back. Your spine has to stay straight when you do these, right? So it's a tiny, tiny difference between good form and bad form. So I'm gonna do my sort of parallel squat, and I'm gonna think about sending my butt back to sit on a chair. Yeah, so I'm not gonna stay forward. I actually want my weight to be almost entirely my heels when I squat. I wanna get my hips at least to my knees, if not lower. But then I really wanna focus on keeping my core engaged and my lower back straight, because this is what we want to avoid. This is a straight spine. Even just that much of a collapse, that's a herniated disc waiting to happen, right? So make sure your lower abdominals are pulled up and you're thinking of sending your tailbone back. Here we go. 6, 7, 8, sit back. Abs up. Like that. 6, 7, 8 more. And 7. Make sure you're getting your hips down. 3, 2, 1. Little rest. Here we go. 8 more. And 8. 7. 3, 2, 1. Quick rest. 8 more. 6, 7, 8. Oh, 8. Check your form. 3, 2 more.
halfway. Let's do another 8. Check your form, make sure your abs are lifted. Here we go. 8. 7. Control it, nice and slow. Don't let gravity fall. Check your knees. 8 more. Abs. Abs and knees. 4 more. 2 more. Rest.
Take a second. We have 16 more, but I'll give you a minute.
Guys, let's do 8 more. Here we go. 6, 7, 8. Sit back. Nice and slow. Control it. 6 more. Make sure you're in your heels. Three. 2. Abs up. Right. Quick rest. All right, let's do our final 8. Here we go. 7, 8. Abs up. Check in with your form. 4 more, then we're done. 2 more. Last one. Good, rest.
Stretch out your quads if you need to. Get some water. All right, kids. Let's go ahead and do our fun little cha-cha slide. So for those of you who didn't do this with us last time, we're doing the cha-cha slide in a plank. So I will demonstrate some of the things that we're going to do. So obviously just for stepping left and stepping right, we're literally just taking plank walks, right, left. Sliding right and left, same thing, just kind of sliding with both hands and feet. Stepping out, when you do stomping with the leg, we're just doing little toe taps and bringing them back in. But if you have to do 2 stomps, it would be tap, tap, bring it in, right? Let's see what else. Anytime that there's a cha-cha, that's a rest for you. So the cha-cha is always turn it out then. So anytime we do the cha-cha, you can just lower your knees. We'll turn to the side and go back into your plank. What else do we do? Oh, reverse. For reversing, we are flipping into a crab. So if there's a reverse, reverse, you're just gonna go to the back, bring it back to the front. Crisscross is pretty self-explanatory. We're doing a little hop with the feet, crisscross. Oh, and then the Charlie Brown, as I said before, because Charlie Brown only happens one time, it's push-ups, and it's only 2. It's literally down and up and down and up, and that's it. And I'll just say kind of the same thing I said whenever we did this last week and whenever we did those burpees. I cannot police you as well as I can in the studio. I can see your form a little bit, but for the most part, it is entirely on you to listen to your body. And what I mean by that is I don't know your body better than you do. So if you are passing out, if you are getting super red, if you're sweating to death, if you're having heat stroke, if you're getting dehydrated, if you're getting thirsty, if your muscles are cramping, you have to be in tune to that because I can't sense that for you since I'm not with you. So if you need to drop out, get a drink, have a stretch, take a breath, and then just join right back in when you're ready. Yeah, there's no pressure at all here.
Clap, clap your hands.
All right, ready?
Clap,
Here we
clap,
go.
clap your hands. All right, now, we're going to do the basic step. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time.
Oh, hop, I
Right
forgot.
foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Turn to the side. So for hops, we just do a little.
Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha now, y'all.
Turn.
Now it's time to get funky. To the right now. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. One hop this time. Right foot, two stumps. Left foot, two stumps. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Crisscross. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Rest.
Let's go to
Here we
work.
go.
To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Two hops this time. Two hops this time. Right foot, two stumps. Left foot, two stumps. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Get funky with it. Oh, yeah. Come on. Cha-cha now, y'all.
All right, here we go.
Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Five hops this time. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Right foot again. Left foot again. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Freeze!
Yes.
Everybody clap your hands. Come on, y'all. Check it out, y'all. How low can you go?
Slow push up.
Can you go down low? All the way to the floor? How low can you go?
Slow push up.
Can you bring it to the top? Like you never stop? Can you bring it to the top? One hop. Right foot now. Left foot now, y'all. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Rest.
Turn it out.
Here we go.
To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. One hop this time. Reverse. Reverse. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Reverse, reverse. Reverse, reverse. Cha-cha now, y'all.
Rest.
Cha-cha again. Cha-cha now, y'all. Cha-cha again. Turn it out.
Here we go.
To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Two hops, two hops. Two hops, two hops. Right foot, let's stop. Left foot, let's
Here it
stop.
is. Push up.
Charlie Brown. Hop it out now. Slide to the right. Slide to the left. Take it back now, y'all. Cha-cha now, y'all.
Good. Rest.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. There. We have 2 minutes and then I'm going to switch to stretching. So let's finish this with our twisty abs. So this is just super simple. We're going back to some basic crunches, but now we're targeting our obliques. So these are going to be a little slower, a little more controlled because I want you to try to get as high as you can and really max out your range of motion. So we're starting just in normal crunch position. And when I do these, I'm still going to crunch straight to the ceiling. But now my knees are going to fall to one side. Yes, so when you do this, you're not going to be able to get as high as you would in a normal crunch, but I want you to still try to get to the top of your range and just pause there for a fraction of a second. Yeah, if you can just do that really quick before we start, hold the top of it, and you should really start feeling kind of the side of your abdominals and your obliques a little bit. Here we go. 6, 7, 8, and
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, the way that things have been. Oh,
8 more.
second thing, second, don't you
Good.
These steps and the prayer to the world of gold. All the hate that you drug has turned your spirit to a dove. Your spirit up above.
Last time.
I was too deep in the ground, building my brain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings they would drown. But they never did, never did, never did, blowing and never did, never did, turn it over, but they rain down. You rain down light.
Rest.
Right, now's your chance to get a drink. Take your shoes off. We're gonna just take a few seconds and then we'll stretch for about 2 minutes. All right, right leg lunge.
Cold is the water. It freezes, you're already cold. Already cold, cold.
Drop the knee, grab the toe.
Death is at your doorstep, and it will steal your innocence, but it will not steal your substance. But you are not alone in this, and you are not alone in this. As brothers, we will stand and we'll hold your hand.
Go ahead and drop that back foot. Let's shift up to our triangle. 2 straight knees.
And you are the mother of your baby child, the one to whom you gave life. And you have your choices, and these who won't make my rate his ladder to the stars.
Good. Go ahead and tuck the left knee underneath, coming to your little cross-legged
You
position.
are not alone in this,
This is what it would look like from the front.
and you are not alone in this. As brothers, we will stand and we'll
If this is a little too much for your hips right now, you're welcome to just plant your top foot and keep your top knee up. If that's too uncomfortable, you can also just come to a sort of a normal cross-legged position, whatever is good for your hips right now. Once again, just make sure your spine is really straight. Don't let the lower back slouch. Take your left hand across the knee and do your twist. While you're twisting, make sure your lower back is still tall. Don't let it slouch.
All the time it takes, words that he breaks. All the time he takes.
Coming back to the middle. Stack your shins. Walk it out nice and long. Remember, this is about going out long, not getting your forehead to the floor. So think about pulling your belly button forward, not just putting your head down. You want to aim for a straight spine. And if that means keeping your upper body a little higher, that's fine, right? But what we want to do is keep tension on the hips. If we allow our spine to curve, we release the tension in that joint. We want to keep the tension. That's what's stretching out the muscle on the thigh. Walk it up. Take your right foot back across. And now we come back to our lunge, but this time the front leg is turned out. So my knee and foot face the side wall, and I'm going to my elbows. If you want, you can keep your knee down in the back. It's up to you. And I'm just going to repeat what I said the other day about active stretching. So we want to think about engaging all the muscles that are making contact with the floor when we're stretching. So it's been kind of, in research, it's shown that passive stretching is actually detrimental for your muscles. So what we want to do is think about kind of pushing into the floor with all the limbs that are touching the floor. So I'm going to think about pushing my right foot down, so to engage my inner thigh and the hamstring. And I'm going to think about pushing into the floor with both forearms, so as to engage my deltoids, lats, and pecs. And we're going to stretch back to our triangle just one more time. This time, if you want to, you're welcome to open your back hip. So that means letting your left hip kind of open up and move backward. If you want, you can actually put your foot outside your hands. You should feel the stretch change to a little bit more of your inner thigh.
So like Adam needed Eve, I need you now. It was fashioned by God above. The lonely inner man with an empty hand can be filled by his one true love. And I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of being
Good. Step forward to your left lunge, and we'll do that whole sequence on the left side.
You are my sweetest downfall.
Remember, when you're in this lunge, you want to keep your knee right on top of your heel.
I love you first. Beneath the sheets of paper lies my truth. I have to go. Your hair was
Drop the knee, grab the toe. Remember, you want to try to keep your hips down toward the floor. Don't let them come up behind, on top of your back knee. The more you can shift your hips forward, the more you'll get on your quad muscle.
History books forgot about us, and the Bible didn't mention us, and the Bible didn't mention us, not even once. You are my sweetest downfall. I loved you first. I loved you.
Good. Shifting up and back to your triangle. Once again, make sure both knees get totally straight. Both heels got to get to the floor.
They're just old light. They're just old light. Your hair was long when we first met. Samson came to my bed, told me that my hair was red, told me I was beautiful, came into my bed. I cut his hair myself one night, a pair of dull scissors in the yellow light. He told me that I'd done all right, kissed me till the morning light, the morning light, kissed me till the morning light.
All right, go ahead and tuck your right knee underneath. So then we're gonna come down to our butt. And you have your little cross-legged position. Just take a moment and find this. Make sure your spine is nice and straight. One of the things I know I mentioned last week was about where you're sitting on your butt. So you want to kind of avoid sitting back on the fleshy part of your glute. You want to think more about sitting forward on your sits bones or almost all the way on your hamstrings, like on your thigh. So you're really far forward over your thighs, not kind of rounding down onto the back of your glutes. Whenever you're ready, you can take your right hand across and do your twist. Keep that spine really tall, especially at the bottom. Coming back to the middle, go ahead and stack your shins, make that triangle shape. Again, if this is too rough on your hips, you can just go to crisscross applesauce. Once again, find that nice tall spine. Stay forward over your sits bones. Don't round down over your glutes. And go ahead and walk it out long. Think about leading with your belly button, not your head. Keep tension in your thighs. Try to keep your spine really straight. It's difficult here. Walk it up. And take your left foot back over the knee. And we come back to our lunge. But once again, this time the front knee is facing the side, front foot is facing the side, and I'm going all the way down to my elbows. And again, thinking about that active stretching. So I'm going to push into the floor with my foot, push into the floor with both forearms. And again, the knee should be kind of the highest part of this shape. All right, let's shift up to our triangle one more time. And once again, again here, if you want, you can open up your back hip and sort of shift over onto the other side of your leg. All right, take a butterfly. Walk them up. Straddles. Walk it out as far as you can. All right, why don't we do just a little bit more stretching? We can do a laying down stretch. So you can just watch for a quick second. Most of you have done this with me before, but I will go ahead and demonstrate and then you can do it because we're gonna be laying down for it. So it'll be hard to watch. So we're gonna lay back. We're just gonna do some super basic like leg to the chest stretches. So we'll start with the right leg. You'll tuck it to your chest. I'll talk you through all of this as well. We'll take it to the chest, then you'll pull it across the body. We'll hold it there for a few minutes, then we'll bring it back. Then the favorite part, we're gonna stretch the knee and try and grab either your calf or your ankle, and we're gonna pull the leg straight up as high as you can get it, totally straight. Then after a few seconds, we'll carry it to the side, and then we'll let it go, and we'll do the left leg. Any questions for me? Okay, I'm gonna talk you through that. Try, while you're doing all that stuff with your leg and your hand, really try and make sure that your bottom leg is anchored to the floor and straight and pointed. So I know it's a lot going on with that stretching leg, but the anchor leg is just as important. All right, I am going to just talk you through it. Go ahead and lay down. And pull your right knee to your chest. If you want, you can do a few pulses with that, whatever feels good for your hip. Now using your left hand, pull that knee across your body a little bit. Now there's two ways you can do this stretch. So just listen while you're doing it. You can either let your knee go the whole way to the floor for a spine twist, right? So what we're getting here is kind of just we're corkscrewing the spine and getting the whole right side of our body. Or what I like to do is try to target my IT band area. So to do that, I'm gonna try to think about actively keeping my right hip on the floor while I pull across and up with my left hand. Right, so it's almost like I'm trying to get my knee to touch my opposite shoulder, but I want to keep my right butt cheek on the floor. When you do that, you should feel kind of the outside of your thigh a little bit more. If you want, you can play around with the height of your knee. That will change the stretch a little bit. And then whenever you're ready, you can bring that knee back to the center and shake out your foot. And then we're gonna go ahead with the straight leg stretch. So bring the knee back up, grab with both hands, either your calf or your ankle, and then get that knee totally straight. You gotta pull your quadricep the whole way up or else the stretch doesn't do anything. And pull that foot towards your face. Make sure your bottom leg is still attached to the floor. And whenever you're ready, you can open it to the side, but you want to keep your foot sort of in that same plane. Don't let it drop. When you open to the side, it's okay if you want to relax your leg into your arm, but make sure your left hip is still on the floor. And go ahead and let it fall all the way back down. Take a second, shake it out if you need. And then we'll just do that once on the left. So go ahead and pull your left knee to your chest. If you want, this is a good time to pulse it. And then using the right hand, pull that knee across the body. And once again, you can either go the whole way to the floor for the spinal twist, or you can keep your left hip on the floor and just work that knee up towards your opposite shoulder, and you should start to feel it in the outside of your left thigh. And go ahead and bring it back to the middle. And if you want, shake it out. And then we're going to go ahead with that straight leg stretch. So pull the knee back to your chest. And then using both hands, grab either your calf or your ankle and get the knee totally straight. Pull your quadricep muscle the whole way up. And then pull the foot towards your face. Keep their bottom leg attached to the floor. Both knees straight. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and open it to the side, and you can hold it in your left hand. Just make sure your right hip stays down. Keep your right leg straight and attached to the floor. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and let it drop. And just take a moment and shake everything out. Shake out your hips, shake out your ankles. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for joining me. Hope you have a
Thank
good
you.